So recently, I realized that I've spent the better part of the last 2 years mm, in performance mode, in the swamp, as my mentor calls it. And I think I've talked about this in another recent video a little bit, but um, and I needed to be there. But when I'm talking about the swamp, ultimately, kind of just this feeling of like, I'm doing all of the things, but yet, all right, knocked something over there. I'm doing all of the things, but it's just not paying off. It feels discombobulated. I had kind of gone from this space of being very structured and organized in my business, uh, and having, different strategies, was building out signature programs, funnels, etc., which I know is very masculine, bro-y, I guess in some people's eyes. And I really rejected that. And I didn't realize at the time what exactly I was rejecting. I'm just like, no, I can do it my way. And I kind of went the complete opposite direction. And I see a lot of women doing this. And that's why I felt like I really needed to record this video. Um, because it's kind of like, I just did another video where I was talking about the pendulum, but this pendulum swing of, okay, here's, the masculine structure, strategy, funnel, like bro way of doing things, right? And then there's this flowy, feminine, I just post when I want and when I feel inspired and only work with people I want, doing things that I want. And frankly, I don't like either of them fully. But when I was way over here, I thought I wanted this over here. And I see a lot of people really resisting this. And what I've realized about myself is that I was very much resisting the masculine in part. And there's probably going to be many more videos about that. Um, and just kind of going all out because I didn't want people to tell me I needed to do things a certain way, that I needed to have a certain structure or strategy or system in place. And it really didn't feel the best to feel like I didn't have control over how I was doing things, and that it was starting to not feel the way I wanted it to. But what I realized, again, in large part, was the connection with the masculine and what I was actually rejecting there. Uh, so I went down like many people, uh, going from the space of I have funnels in place, I have my program, like I had everything really, like the foundation was set up. And it was like as soon as it got set up, and I remember one of my team members at the time who it runs a marketing agency just being like, okay, you can't just like change your mind every time something happens. And I feel like I need to send her a message now. Because I did. I was like, okay, we spent the last, 6 months building this out. I got the proof, in my one-on-one. We created this offer, built it out, created all the funnels and everything for it. And then it's like, no, I don't like it. I want to burn it all to the ground. And then I stopped selling it. And sales started to slow down a little bit at that point. And now I can tell you, like, recently I've started to kind of come back to some of those things that I started to run away from, and the clarity that's come through has been big, and I felt like I really needed to share it. So I've always been a pretty like strategic person, but I'm also like this really like feminine, adventurous, creative soul, and I wanted to be all of those things, right, in my life, in my business. And it felt like when, they were saying, okay, we need to build this funnel out and we need to have this certain structure. And okay, this is how we sell things and market things. And then we need to do this, this, and this. Like, this isn't why I started my business. I wanted to have fun. I wanted to do it on my terms. That was the whole like point of my business. I wanted to travel, be free, have fun. And it just felt like I was having to work so much because I did in the process of building that out. So I rejected it. And then I spent about a year or so, like kind of starting to dabble in other things and focusing more on content. And that's when I started to kind of switch the focus of what I was teaching from, more of the like have the business, the life you love and a business that supports it, the best of both worlds kind of concept and going, well, I was still talking about that a little bit. I was starting to focus a lot more on content because people that I was following were just like, oh yeah, I don't have any structure or strategy really. I just, write content and I magnetize everything. I'm like, well, that sounds good. I want to do that. And sure, I had gotten people from content, before, because then I was also at the time doing a lot of DMs, and it just felt like a really tedious thing uh, to have to do all of that work. So I jumped on the content bandwagon like everybody. And let me tell you, content and messaging, very, very important, but they're not your business. So I had this really like structured business where everything was really clear what I needed to do, when we were going to launch it. Like I had everything in place. Um, and I abandoned it because it felt like too much. And I was starting to burn out. And what I realized that, along the way is that the reason I started to burn out is because it was misaligned in a way. But, going through my own embodiment journey, looking back, I can also see where much of that was happening from fear. Again, rejecting of the masculine, which goes back to, childhood, ancestral, uh, old relationships, all sorts of different things, that I was really rejecting about that. And it wasn't the business structure. It was, feeling like I was being told I couldn't do what I wanted and it wasn't turning out the way I had expected. So, going the other direction kind of threw me off track too, because then it was just like, okay, I'll just create programs on it. And this was, again, people that I was learning from and what I was seeing in the market. It sounded great. Like I can just create stuff on a whim. And, I don't need to have structured programs in place, just whatever I'm feeling. And I can write content, and just like pump it out all the time. And don't get me wrong, like that does work. And then for some people, it works really well. But that's that whole thing of finding what works for you and why, and like understanding why it works. And again, in theory, it sounded really nice to just be able to do whatever I wanted whenever I wanted to. But kind of coming full circle this year, coming back to more structure, and I don't think that strategy is what most people need. I want to say that because it's not about the strategy. Like I've had my strategy, different strategies for years, and most of us, I think, that have been doing this for any length of time, you have a decent idea of what strategies are out there, what potentially works either for you or has worked for other people, the things that sound intriguing and interesting that you think that you'd like to try. Uh, it's more about understanding why we're rejecting certain ways of doing things and then figuring out what that is about, working through the emotional and energetic blocks related to it, releasing them, and then coming back to that space of, okay, now I'm a fucking business owner. I need some structure. And I do believe that I needed to go down the path that I did because I'm here to serve you, to help you, to kind of go through the same. And it's definitely not. There's a differentiation here. I want to say too. Um, it's not about like saving past versions of ourselves, but sometimes I think we have to go through things in order to understand what it is that we're here to teach. And for me, in large part, and even I was just looking earlier or yesterday or something at some of the stuff in my human design chart again and my gene keys. I like to look at gene keys, human design, astrology, both Western and Eastern, astrology, and really just kind of comparing the different things. And I was looking, I have gene key 11, if you're familiar with gene keys, in my radiance position, and it's associated with ideas, with creativity, with femininity, right? And our radiance is also, what makes us thrive. It's directly related to how we thrive in life and health, etc. and what lights us up. And for me, it is being in that feminine, and that ideas and like that creativity. So it makes sense that I was kind of pulling away from that masculine structure, but coming back to it, recognizing that by having the structure, it'll actually allows me to be in that space of being in my, full expression as a woman in my feminine energy, doing the things that I want to do, by having structured programs and having content, pillars and libraries and stuff that I can pull from and repurpose, having a plan of how I want to bring people into my program and knowing how when I want to do things throughout the year, like that is important to have that structure, because that provides the masculine, and the feeling of safety and stability and that foundation that I want and need, and that many of us really truly need. And we chase oftentimes the money, thinking that I just need more clients, more money, and that's going to bring me the stability and the foundation. But actually, that comes from within, and you finding that within yourself, and the structure in your business can actually create the spaciousness that you desire in your life, if you do it alongside the deeper work, if you understand why you're rejecting certain things and what you need to do in order to create the structure in your business, that works really well for you, that doesn't feel restrictive, that actually feels like safety and foundation and love, right? That then allows you to have the spaciousness in your days to go about doing the creative things, having the ideas, having the fun, right? Because now, like, I've totally restructured, interesting term here, but I've kind of redone my offerings this year and gone back to a more traditional offer suite of sorts and having signature offers, which I kind of abandoned for years. I had some that I would run multiple times, but I was really like creating on the fly, thinking, this is fun, this is creative. But it always felt stressful and nerve-wracking, because it was like, okay, where I need to do the next thing now, and what do I need to do next? And so my brain was always working. It was always in that active, often unhealthy masculine mode, versus just knowing exactly what I need to do, like having that healthy masculine structure. And we all have masculine and feminine energy within us, and rejecting the masculine within us and trying to go full femme, like all the way into the feminine, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. And as much as I want to be the supporter of like, you can do whatever you want, well, you can. But the reason that you need the structure isn't to be controlled or do things according to someone else's blueprint, because you can have any strategy that you want within your structure. It's just knowing the foundation of what works for you, what you want to do, how you want to be seen in the world. Um, so that you can put that out there in a way that is really supportive of your life. So, for those of you that want the amazing business, or the business that you love, that feels supportive, that supports the life you want, this is kind of how you get it, right? It's You have the structure of, this is how my business runs, this is how it works. I know exactly what I need to do, so that on a day when you don't need, or a day when you don't feel like doing a whole lot, like, I'll be honest, today I've got terrible cramps. Saying that publicly in a video that I'm going to publish. And I have a migraine. And I don't really want to do the things that I had kind of planned to do, which actually one of them was recording a video. So I am doing the things that I wanted to do, but I've got my content planned out because I know exactly what I'm promoting. I know exactly when I'm doing that. I know I can schedule it out. And that used to feel like, oh, but then I don't know what's going on. Well, I still allow myself to create content in the moment when I feel like it, like this video, for instance, or when I feel like writing things. I wrote some stuff earlier. But the success of my business is not counting on me, on me creating in the moment so that I can actually be in that space of feminine flow and enjoying it and being creative and coming up with ideas. And I've got like new ideas for programs and for like the things that I want to do. And I'm getting really excited about the retreats that I'm doing next year, because part of my signature offerings now is retreats and offering those as options with my masterminds and like having this structure. So I'm excited because I can do it all, and I can fucking lay on the couch and take a nap because I know that all my content is scheduled. I know how, I mean, I am going back to sending messages, but I send them in a way that feels good for me and that actually is something I'm excited to talk to people about. And it's just, it's a very different place than where I was a year ago. And a year ago, don't get me wrong, like I was making good money last year, like cash wise and revenue wise was the highest one that I've had, 2024, which kind of actually surprised me, if I'm being honest, at the end of the year, because it felt like I probably didn't make as much money last year, but it was my best year ever. But I was all over the place, emotionally, energetically, with my offers. I didn't really know when I was selling when, and I had actually planned out the whole year. And oops. But then again, I was just like, I don't want to do that. And I didn't have everything planned out to go with it. So when it came time to like, oh, I got to launch this thing, well, then it was like, oh, I got to create all of this stuff and I've got to do all of this. And then it lost its fun because I was like forced into doing these things. And then it was like, I don't want to do this. I was, again, rejecting that masculine structure in the moment because it felt like then I couldn't do the things that I wanted to. So I think that you've probably gotten the point by now. But I just wanted to come on and share this because I've actually heard people talking about these things for years, and I understood what they were talking about, but no one ever really broke it down like this for me. And I think that it's really helpful to understand, what it is that you're rejecting about strategy and structure and fitting into a box. And we aren't meant to fit into anybody's box. You're not meant to, that's not in a dirty way, okay? But you're not meant to do things necessarily someone else's way. You're meant to figure out what works for you. But oftentimes what works for you, you reject because you haven't done the work beneath it to understand why it's not working for you. And that's why, like I do say, like all sorts of every kind of strategy works. So strategy, you probably know what you want to do already. Like I did all of these things that I've like implemented this last year. Um, they're things that I wanted to do for a long time and I've talked about for years, but I just never put in place because, or I did this and that because I didn't want to like put myself in that box and that structure. I'm like, well, I wonder if that would work or this would work. Or I was already doing it 5 years ago and then I fucking rejected it because I thought that I was, whatever. So anyway, I want you to think about what you're really wanting in your business, in your life, and what's not working in your business. And is there something that could work better for you, that could be easier, that would be more aligned with who you are, how you want to run your business, how you want to spend your time, and also what's stopping you from that? And that's the work that I do with my clients. It's the type of things that I help people with, both in my free communities and my paid programs. My unfiltered ascension mastermind is one of my signature offers that I open up for enrollment a few times a year. We do have an open enrollment going right now. I'm recording this July 23rd, 2025. So for at least the next month and a half-ish, you are able to enroll in that. And if you see this at an obscure time, there will be another enrollment coming soon. So feel free to reach out to me on Facebook or LinkedIn. You can send me a message, or if you are in my community, Unleashed and Authentically Expressed over on Telegram, you can send me a message there as well. And if you're not in that community and you are resonating with the things that I'm saying, you need to be there. It's free. I share awesome resources, active like audio activations and riffs. Also, sometimes just like free little gifts. Like the other day, I did a rampage for the people in that community, recorded and sent it over, journal prompts, etc. So uh, join me over inside that community, or just send me a message and let's do the work to get you back to a place where you have the foundation and the structure that you need so that you can be in your feminine flow and having fun and having adventure and creativity and enjoying your life at the same time. So I will talk to you soon. See you over inside the Unleashed Authentically Expressed community. And just make sure that you like and subscribe so you see more of these. If you enjoyed it, let me know in the comments. And I'm looking forward to seeing more of these.